Blessings, beloveds. Welcome back. I'm just following up on midpoints. I want to give you guys just a few more things to consider. So, I did a quick podcast yesterday just explaining the transiting Mars being at the midpoint of the full moon on the full moon day between Uranus and Saturn, and just the significance of that. So if you haven't heard that video or podcast, just go to that to hear more about it, because that was a very significant transiting midpoint. So what I want to show you today, if you are working with solifier, even if you have the older version, you should still be able to do this. So here's just a chart for today. Okay, so there's a series of tabs right up the top of the screen that are labeled chart, view, reports, interps, dynamic, chart options, utilities, preferences, appointments, help. So if you go to, let me see, dynamic and click Ephemeris Generator, okay, which essentially just enables you to create your own ephemeris. Basically, that's what an ephemeris is. It's an ephemeris that shows you the position of all the planets. Any asteroids you add into that, you can add, you can subtract, you can just look at the moon, you can just look at Mercury, you can look at all the planets, you can pretty much create your own ephemeris for however, whatever length you like. It could be 1 year, it could be 2 years. You might want to look back 5 years ago, you might want to look to the future in 20 years, whatever. You can just adjust accordingly to your needs. So when you click that window dynamic and you click on Ephemeris Generator, which is, you can see it's brought up this particular window here. And so what we need to do is, I'm just going to leave pretty much everything as it is. So I'll just walk you through it. So first window, it says start date. And I'm just going to leave it as 1st of January 2021, just to demonstrate our example. End date 1st of Jan 2022. So that's going to show me, the position of what I'm trying to find for 12 months, right? So Jan this year to Jan next year, that's 12 months. You can put any dates in there that you want, depending on what you want, what you're looking for. Start time, end time, that's neither here nor there. I wouldn't worry about that. You can change the frequency here relative. Do you want it daily? Do you want it every 2 days? Do you want it every 3 days? That's up to you as well. It also gives you the option of years, months, days, hours, minutes. Okay, so it's pretty good like that. So we want 1 day at a time. So we want to see every single day for the next 12 months where these particular midpoints are that I'm going to show us in a moment. You want to go to the zone, and you really want to kind of put in the time zone that you are in. That would be helpful, okay, because that will localize it to where you are, your locality. Okay, you need to make sure it's geocentric, not heliocentric, and true node. And you want to make sure you have tropical zodiac in here as well. If you actually click the arrow, you can see it gives you quite a few options of different zodiacs, right? But we are working with the tropical zodiac as per the example today. You want to make sure that you have longitude clicked in the box here as well, and just disregard the rest for the purposes of what I'm showing today. And you want to go down to the very last box on the right hand side, just where I'm hovering my cursor at the moment. Just make sure that zodiacal is also clicked, not decimal degrees. Okay, and finally the last thing is this. So Solifier has already picked a program here, a file that is, where it says transiting chart points. Now if you went to transiting chart points, I'll just click that to show you. It would bring up this window, and Solifier has a number of files already programmed in there. So it's showing us Chiron, meaning that if I was to click select and then just go to start, it would just show me the ephemeris of 1st of Jan 2021 to 1st of Jan 2022, the position of Chiron, okay? Every single day, the actual movement of Chiron. But that's not what we want to do today, so we'll just leave that out. Just wanted to show you. And by the way, if you do go into this and let's just say that you want to see the position of all the planets and all the asteroids that are available in Solifier, then you might have to create your own file. But as I said, there are some organized files in here. You just need to, well, the title tells you what they are. So Mercury is Mercury, Moon is Moon. Outers means from Saturn onwards. There's Pluto file, so on and so forth, right? So you just kind of need to read them. If you don't quite understand it, click on the file, hit select, open it, and just see what it brings up, and you should be able to determine it from there, relative to being able to recognize the symbols, okay, the planetary symbols, of course, the degrees and the zodiac as well. All right. So what we want to do today is I want to show you where you'd find the place to see the transiting midpoints. So, for example, through my work, what I've seen to be really significant at any year, you can look at this at any year actually, just to see whether it actually is hitting things off in your chart. So, what you want to be paying attention to is Saturn with Uranus, Saturn with Neptune, and Saturn with Pluto, meaning what is the transiting midpoint between Saturn and Uranus, Saturn and Neptune, Saturn and Pluto in 2021, for instance? What is the midpoint of those three pairs, right? And the reason for that is because, well, first of all, those particular transiting midpoints, they can prove to be incredibly significant in a person's life in terms of what they can point to. Okay, so I'll give you a personal example. This year, I have the transiting midpoint to Saturn and Pluto is running along between 2 to 3 degrees of Aquarius, okay, all year. So that particular midpoint is basically hitting off my ascendant, okay, because my ascendant is 2 degrees of Aquarius. Now that's huge for me and my life, and I can tell you it is, and it's it's been playing out. It's probably one of the most difficult midpoints actually. So it's been a very challenging year really, for other reasons as well, but certainly that adds to everything else that points to the way this year has unfolded. The reason I look at Saturn, Uranus, Saturn, Neptune, Saturn, Pluto is because Saturn with those planets is always a difficult combination. It's an incredibly difficult, incredibly challenging combination. It's also incredibly powerful. It's also incredibly transforming. It also helps us grow and develop and evolve, all those things without question. But they are midpoints that would definitely challenge an individual. So anyway, what we do is we go to the window just underneath transiting chart points. There's another window here and it says extra points, if you can see that. And inside at the moment it says none. So we want to just click on that. Okay. And we see another window open up here and it's got some pre-organized files again. So there is one in here already called none. Okay, so I'm just going to click that, and what I'm going to do then is I'm going to hit edit. Now once I hit edit, it brings up this particular window, as you can see. Okay, here is where you can actually look at any midpoint you want to between any two bodies for that matter. Okay, but my suggestion is to begin with, have a look at, and I've actually put them in here. So let me just clear it and show you how that's done. So on the left-hand side, you can see there's all these symbols, right? A whole bunch of symbols. Now, you need to know your symbols. You need to know the zodiac, etc., to understand what these symbols are. There's quite a few of them there that some of you may not be familiar with, so that's just something you'll have to learn, because I'm not going to go through every symbol today. So I want to see the midpoint between Saturn. So I highlight Saturn. You can see it's highlighted it. I go to the next window, and then I look for the body that I want to highlight again, which is Uranus. Okay, and there's Uranus there. So once I've highlighted the two bodies, that basically what I'm telling the computer is that I want you to show me the midpoint between Saturn and Uranus for 2021, for the date that I've put in, right? For the entire 12 months. Okay. So this is going to show me the transiting midpoint between Saturn and Uranus for 2021. Okay. Then I hit on, and it puts it in the window on the right-hand side, which says one selected midpoint. So that's letting me know that, yep, you've selected that, it's in, we've got it, we're done. Is there anything else I want to add? Well, I could add Saturn and Neptune. I'd do the same thing. I could add Saturn and Pluto. Those are the three major ones that I'd suggest you start exploring with. So if I clicked all those, it would just add them onto the window on the right-hand side. Then I would just hit save, and then I would hit select, and then I would hit start. And so what you see here on the screen, never mind Chiron. Chiron was pre-programmed. Okay, that's why it's come up. All right, that's the only reason it's there. It was pre-programmed, and I just didn't delete it. So remember, I wanted to see the midpoint between Saturn and Uranus. And so from the 1st of January, so let's just start here. The first column, this is actually working with GMT, okay, time zone. And it's showing here, it's the tropical zodiac, geocentric, longitude, which is all the things that we wanted highlighted right from the start. And the first column shows you the date every single day, because that's the order that I wanted it in. I wanted to see day by day, okay, the movement of the midpoint between Saturn and Uranus. And you can see it starts off being at 19 degrees of Pisces, 12 minutes, and then it just runs down, according to its movement, however, slowly or fast it moves. Now, clearly, one of the reasons that Saturn, Uranus, Saturn, Neptune, Saturn, Pluto are very powerful midpoints, transiting midpoints. They're powerful midpoints in your chart as well, by the way, quite likely. But transiting midpoints are very powerful with these combinations because they move incredibly slowly. So if, say, for example, that you had an ascendant of 19 degrees of Pisces, well, then for this year, you'd be having Saturn and Uranus activate your ascendant via midpoint transit. And that would prove to be quite an interesting and challenging year, perhaps, relative to what Saturn and Uranus symbolize. And those two energies are holding your ascendant sort of vibration and energy, and they are amplifying the first house, okay? But through the filter of Saturn and Uranus, which we know are basically the complete antithesis to another. So it would be a year that would be posed with various challenges relative to working with Saturn and Uranus energies. Now, you might look at your chart and have Saturn and Uranus are not really doing anything necessarily very significant to your ascendant or your first house or to even any of your personal planets. Let's just say that was the case, right? Just for example. If you didn't look at this particular system that I'm showing you today, which is transiting midpoints, then you'd miss something very, very important. You'd be unaware that as per your ascendant and everything the ascendant represents in the first house, you're experiencing an energy through Saturn and Uranus, basically for 12 months. Because if you look down this line, you can see that it starts off at 19 and it doesn't move very far. I'll just take it down a bit. Okay, this one seems to be moving a bit faster than Saturn Pluto. So, well, yeah, you'd have it there perhaps for a few months, okay, as opposed to a whole year. But you might have, two or three planets at the 28th, 27th, 26th, 25th degree and so forth. And so then, for most of the year, you'd have those planets activated through the Saturn Uranus midpoint. Okay. So these are very, very important transits to pay attention to. They can reveal a lot to you that you otherwise wouldn't see. And you could be having an incredibly challenging year and not knowing why, not seeing it through other means, perhaps, other transits and things that are going on. But then, when you know to look at midpoints, you can just be tuned into so much more that's going on. So that's what I wanted to show you guys. But let me just quickly show you the difference between Saturn and Pluto, for instance. So let's just put Saturn. So you go to the left column, click the one planet that you want, go to the right column and click the other planet you want. So we want Pluto, then click on, which means it adds it. You can see it there. It's added if you can see the symbols. Then hit save. Okay, select, start, and here we go. So this transiting midpoint is active for the entire world. Okay, but what we are doing is we are looking at this transiting midpoint relative to our own birth chart. Do you have anything at 27 degrees of Capricorn? If you do, then the Saturn Pluto midpoint was activating 27 degrees of Capricorn in your chart, if you have a planet there, or if you have your ascendant there, and so forth. Now it's going to go retrograde. No, okay, it doesn't go retrograde here. So anyway, by the time, let me see. Let's just go slowly. Okay. All right. So basically, it was only in the first month of this year where it was, at those very late degrees of Capricorn. And basically, from the end of January, it stepped into being zero Aquarius. That is the midpoint, the transiting midpoint in the sky between Saturn and Pluto sits at 0 degrees of Aquarius as of 29th of January. And if we just continue to follow through on that, you'll see it's moving very slowly, okay? So it gets up to about, there you go. So it gets up to 5 degrees of Aquarius. It's taken it 5 months to move to 5 degrees or thereabouts. And so then it goes retrograde. Okay. And so obviously as it goes retrograde, it's going to go back in the zodiac again, right? So you can see it starts going through 4, 3, 2, 1, 0, back to 0 Aquarius. And it goes direct again on the 11th of October 2021 at 0 degrees Aquarius in 35 minutes. So this is very, very important because these are very slow moving transiting midpoints, and that's precisely why they are powerful and important to notice, to be aware of, and to understand what they mean, of course, as well. I mean, first of all, midpoints is quite an advanced area of astrology, but I've got a lot of you who watch and listen who are fairly well versed in astrology. Some of you are really well versed. So there's, I've got a a group of people that I can see. There are many different levels, and so sometimes I may speak about very simple things. Sometimes I may speak about more advanced things, but I like to speak about all of it as much as I can when I can, because it needs to reach every person at every level they are at. So for those of you that this makes absolutely no sense, that's fine. I understand. You'd need to you'd need to study midpoints, which is cosmobiology. And like I said in my podcast yesterday, understanding midpoints in the chart is an absolute core foundation. It's an It's an absolute necessity in terms of understanding a birth chart, or a chart for that matter, simply, and transits and so forth. So if you had 0 Aquarius rising as your ascendant, I know some of you will, well, this year Saturn Pluto is activating your ascendant. And so it's probably been quite a challenging year thus far, which would include a lot of separation, release, transformation, pretty deep, dark night of the soul type of, experiences and things like that, and chipping away and working very, very hard towards something that you are evolving through, progressing through, and developing through. And it would just feel like, a really intense, really, really heavy, heavy energy on your physical body, as it were, in your mental body, emotional body, that there would just be this sense of heaviness, of energy floating around you, if you like, that you are just incredibly plugged into, and you can't avoid it. You have to work with it, right? So anyway, there's much more to it than that, but I just wanted to give you guys a little example. Okay, so I'm off. I just wanted to share that little bit of insight for those of you that find it interesting and may find it useful. I hope you do. And let me know if you have any questions. If I can answer them, I will. And see you guys very soon. Much love, much blessings. Bye for now.